when I was a young doorman here, I greeted everyone. FDR, Truman, Premier Khrushchev, all of them. The Academy Awards were held here a total of 6 times. No scandals, happy times here. Senator Kennedy, welcome to the Ambassador Hotel.
Thank you very much.
How did you assemble all this talent, in one movie?
There are certain actors who, when they say yes, they become magnets for other actors. Anthony Hopkins is one of them. And when he says yes, and here's a guy who normally says no. I mean, you look at that list, most of the people on that list say no. And they said yes to me. They said yes for no money. And many of them make a salary that is beyond what we spent on the film. So there were no perks, there were no luxuries extended to anyone, but there was a piece of material. And there was an opportunity to step out of what these people normally do, and be creative and use our imagination instead of, reaching into our pocketbooks.
Buses are loading, gentlemen. Bobby Kennedy needs to get elected.
I thought you guys were doing volunteer work.
Not when you volunteer to work for the Kennedys. It's a full-time crusade.
I'm getting complaints that you're not allowing the kitchen staff to vote today.
They're not gonna vote. Half of them are illegal. They can't vote.
Every day you keep putting the brown man down, Edward.
That's right. Let's keep the brown man down. Let's send the brown man back across the border.
We didn't cross the border crossed us.
You guys have definitely, had your share of great roles, but was this like a master class in acting to go to work every day and see some of these people?
Yeah, it was definitely, we definitely knew that we were a part of something special, and for it to be a master class, well, unfortunately a lot of us worked at different times, but it was an honor to be a part of a class like this, and to be a part of an ensemble like this.
Yeah.
It was quite the learning experience for me, and just, sitting in awe of, people that you've admired for so many years. And then just the project in itself, just, it's more than just a film, you know what I mean? It felt like a movement. You felt like you were a part of something special, and I've never had that feeling before.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I learned one of the most important lessons ever was when I saw, I think it was Demi was about to do a scene. She's like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. And I'm like, wow, it's okay to be nervous, I'm like, and I wasn't. We were saying we weren't that nervous starting off the movie, and she was nervous, so that was one of the things I've learned.
Remember when Hopkins came on set and how shy he was?
Yeah.
It's Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have the bravado and the ego at all. And he's still, it's like his first time for him. And it's Hopkins,
You're on stage at 9 sharp. Then you're introducing Senator Kennedy in the Embassy Ballroom.
So sad. That woman. I used to be such a fan.
I'm not sure about this.
If marrying you tonight keeps you from going to Vietnam, then it's worth it.
And you did such an amazing job of crafting a bunch of human stories around a big sort of social story.
An event.
Yeah, and yet kept the humanity of Bobby Kennedy, even though he's almost like a, shadowy figure.
Well, I borrowed from William Wyler, from Ben-Hur, using, the Christ figure was always seen over the shoulder, and you saw the effect that Christ had on the soldiers and whoever else that he came in contact with, and the same for Bobby Kennedy. And in many ways, this is a passion play. We know what's coming. We know where we're going, and it's the getting there.
What if Kennedy loses? We can all forget it, man. I'm 19, Jimmy. I don't want to go to Vietnam. Do you?
Now that Dr. King is gone, no one left but Bobby. No one.
The next president of the United States, Senator Robert F. Kennedy.
Where did you guys stand, on your thoughts on Bobby Kennedy before you got involved with this movie, and how did you kind of come out on the other end after it was done?
I didn't really know much, and I knew more about his brother, but this film was definitely an educational experience for me.
Yeah, I relied pretty much on, I was born in '69, so I relied on stories I'd heard from my parents about the Kennedys, and they just always had a really, they're like American royalty. I mean, they've survived incredible great tragedies, but have always maintained a certain level of integrity and mystery and hope and faith in the direction that the world could actually go in.
I think I really just thought of him as a Kennedy. You know, I didn't know much about him specifically and what he stood for, and I feel wonderful now that I've actually learned more about him, and I have a sense of what an impact it had when he was assassinated on our country and how it could have changed everything.
We all understand like the Camelot, the royal
The
American
overall
Kennedy
kind of
dream.
The mythology that is that
But this,
idea
I
of
think
the
this film
Kennedys.
kind of gave us the personal connection and gave us and allowed us to learn that, you know, Robert Kennedy was a man of the people.
We trade a lot in icons, but not actual people anymore. I mean, Bobby was a man of the people. Now, he wouldn't be allowed to be today, because he's from the Northeast, and he comes from a good family, so they say, oh, he's an elitist, or he's this or that. And then you see that footage of him in the Appalachians,
Right.
you know, like, walking around talking
Right.
to people, and they couldn't be happier, but they're not sitting there like, oh, we're so happy that he came here. He's sitting, having conversations and talking about real things. He's not, you know, saying, well, I'm up by 4 points in the polls today, and, you know, praise Jesus, and I love everybody, vote for me. He's actually sitting there, and you can hear it in his voice. He says, you know, I think he was shocked by the level of poverty and the disconnect between, you know, how some in America were living and how others were living.
Well, that's part of his transformation
absolutely.
too. That whole.
Yeah, I think he became a man as part of his his growing towards the presidency.
When Bobby was assassinated, I think someone said that in one sentence he was like, what we were doing is we were mourning the possibilities of what our country could be, and I think that kind of sums it up.
Our lives on this planet are too short. The work to be done is too great. But we can perhaps remember that those who live with us are our brothers, that they share with us the same short moment of life.